Jeshua, the early years, the blessing of forgiveness. Now we begin, and indeed greeting unto you, beloved holy friends, indeed greeting to you, beloved and holy great rays of light, shining eternally in the mind of our Father, bringing forth that which is love, bringing forth that which is light, bringing forth that which is wisdom and peace and simplicity and forgiveness. For in truth the world waits upon your forgiveness. It waits to be anointed by the mind of Christ that would look upon all created things and grant it forgiveness. For your world lives steeped in fear. Your world is filled with many brothers and sisters that are plagued by a deep sense of unworthiness and guilt. Having fallen asleep, they continue to dream an illusory dream. But much like any dream, it holds the power to enchant the mind and blocks the very cells of the body from exuding only that which is real, light. And light is love. And therefore, to begin this evening and to share this message with our many friends, we would indeed speak of forgiveness. Beloved friends, forgiveness requires a graciousness, and graciousness is but the extension through form, through the body, through the emotions, through your touch, through your smile, through the glimmer in your eye, of that which is the grace already given unto you. It is always wise, then, to remember that if you would know grace, give grace. And each moment, then, as you walk through your world, as you would cry out unto me and to many of my friends, teach me what my purpose is, what is my function, what is my unique and special role. And your mind would teach you that it must be some form of service outside of your own being. I say unto you, your purpose and your function is the same as was and is mine. To be the one through whom the grace of the loving God is given unto those who yet dream the vicious and dark and awful dream of separation. For in that dream there cannot be anything but a deep inner anguish. And one who dreams thus acts in such a way that almost every thought and every action becomes a cry for help and healing, a cry that falls on the deaf ears of the world. For the world believes in judgment and not forgiveness, in condemnation and not healing. Therefore, know well the power that dwells within you, for you have already awakened to your call. You have already begun to lift your eyes up from the dream of separation, and have begun to behold a great light shining forever that seems to shine forth from some place, from some source so far removed from all that you've known, and all that you think you are. And yet the light that you behold is your light, placed within you by God Himself from the moment you first began to dream your own unique version of the dream of separation. How then will you know the light? Not by seeking it, but by allowing it. Therefore, as you walk through this world, when you cry out wondering what your purpose is, bring your attention back to the simple fact that you are here to bless the world through the forgiveness of Christ. Look therefore gently upon all that you see. Learn to return the mind, the emotions, and as long as it lasts, even the body to peace, that the graciousness of Christ can flow forth through you unimpeded, unlimited, shining in its joy. And let that joy fall upon whomever you see, whatever you see, a blade of grass, a leaf falling from a tree, a wisp of cloud passing through the sky, a snowflake that falls. Bless these things, for they too have arisen from within your holy mind, and they are pervaded by the same selfsame light that gives you your existence. The world cries out for forgiveness, and the soul cries out for union with God, and seeks in 1,000 convoluted ways and technologies to find a way to merge created and creator, beloved and lover. For indeed you are the lovers of God, and in truth cannot help but be that. For God does not create that which opposes Himself. Because you are a great ray of light shining in that one mind, while you are the created, you are the lover of God. And your peace and fulfillment will come to you fully when you have retrained the mind to settle for no other thought than that which expresses the joyful, heart-centered devotion to your Creator, not as a stern master apart from you, but as the presence of love itself, that ignites the very creative process whereby you have come into being. not to suffer the things of the world, not to dream the dream of separation. It was never necessary. It was just a momentary choice, but rather to extend all that God is. Therefore, if you would know your freedom and peace, use each moment to bring the attention of the mind back to the graciousness and the blessing of forgiveness. For as you forgive, you will learn that you have already been forgiven. And as you bless the world, you will know how blessed you truly are. And the day will come when you no longer fear the unlimited blessing of your Father, for you will know that all things are created for you out of love. That you never need to limit yourself at any moment within your consciousness, whatever world you might be playing and dancing within. Take then upon your shoulders my cloak, take upon your head my crown of light, for it is given unto you to be the embodiment of all that Christ is. And in truth, because only Christ is the creation of God, it is the only thing that you can be in reality. Now that means that if there is even one moment in your day when your thought and your mind would pull you to the perception that you are other than what you are created to be, it means that you, in that moment, have chosen to become identified with pure and utter insanity. I have said often that there is a choice between two emotions, love and fear. And two other words that could be used would be sanity and insanity. There is no gray area. You're either in one or the other. You might fool yourself and say, well, I'm really moving toward love, but I have to get through these certain things first, and then I might get there. Well, you are either home or you're away from home. You are either one with God or you are dreaming the dream of separation. One brings the reality of peace. One brings what seems to be insanity to this upside-down world of yours. The recognition that you are as you are created to be. And in this moment, you hold all power under heaven and earth to choose for peace, to extend only love, to forgive instead of judge, to be open instead of contracted. The way, then, is easy and without effort. It requires only that you make a deliberate choice, to surrender the perception and ideas you have ever held about anyone or anything, including yourself, that is anything other than the preciousness of the reality of Christ, and to allow the Holy Spirit then to bring forth these circumstances that can show you where you had once failed and chosen insanity, so that you can simply correct it. And that is why, as you dance through your many incarnations, you keep bumping into the same folks. And the energies that each soul presents to you will continue to be presented ad nauseum until you have embraced that energy and owned it within your own being. And then through the reflection or the mirror of forgiving that energy, you begin the process of dismantling or dissolving that energy in your own being. For you are one and the same. You have never truly looked upon another at all. Your eyes would show you bodies that seem not to reside in the same place that your body does, but that's an illusion, because you don't have a body. There are bodies, but you do not have one. You do not dwell within it. It dwells within the holy expansiveness of the one mind that is incarnate upon the earth. Forgiveness is the bridge to healing. 2,000 years ago, as you understand time, I came with a very simple message, and the message was the message of forgiveness. I have come yet again in many ways giving the same simple technology, for it alone works. And yet the mind would have you believe that you must constantly make it more difficult. Well, surely there is something else to acquire, some great power, some great mystical experience. If only I could get all my outer affairs in order, then I'll remember to forgive the world because I'll be more comfortable. Rest assured that what you want to see reflected in the world around you is influenced by, is an extension of, the quality of awareness that you allow within your consciousness, moment to moment. And if you seem then to no struggle, there is some corner yet remaining that has not been touched by your own forgiveness. Now, are you going to be able to search that out corner? Many of you might try, but is it not easier to simply recognize that the Holy Spirit has already created the exact circumstance that you need to awaken? Therefore, if you would seek your path, open your eyes. Notice the place where you seem to be physically upon this earth. Notice who you seem to be with. Take a very deep breath and remember that all things are perfect, that this is your golden doorway, your eye of the needle. And if you would make the choice to simply be the presence of Christ and extend the gracious blessing of forgiveness, you will feel your restlessness begin to dissolve. And as it dissolves in the depth of your beingness, through your deliberate choice to use the power of your mind, which is all that you have, to extend forgiveness and thereby the dissolved pattern of perception within the depth of your mind, you will then come to see the world around you differently. And miracle-mindedness begins more and more to be what that carries you through your life. You meet just the right person, you get just that perfect job, and all of the rest. It rains when you want it to rain, and it's sunny when you want it to be sunny, and you will be mystified by it all. In the end, when the mind is completely purified, which simply means that it's been corrected from any conflict between love and fear, forgiveness and punishment, when the mind is completely purified, you will know that you are unlimited forever. You will know that if you are seemingly in the bodily experience, whether you're washing the dishes or taking out the garbage, whatever you're doing, you will know that you, as Christ incarnate, have deliberately chosen to allow your being this experience as yet another opportunity to bless the world with the forgiveness that it cries out for. And if the body seems to dissolve in light, and you are no longer seen by other bodies in space and time, you will know that that, too, is the perfect choice of freedom. Imagine walking through this life you are living, in a world that seems to have forgotten the reality of God, and feeling from the crown of the head to the tips of your toes not one trace of contraction or fear. Imagine the cells of the body feeling as spacious as the heavens. Imagine the peace that passes all understanding to be the pervading every organ of the body. A gentle smile upon the lips, barely perceptible to others. A gentleness in the area of the heart. A sense of bodily relaxation from what you call the solar plexus to the base of the spine. The mind calm and clear, missing nothing, yet holding on to nothing. Imagine being compelled by nothing, and yet not having a trace of judgment about anything arise. Imagine walking through this life in which nothing is unacceptable to you, because you are so busy blessing the world with the forgiveness of Christ, recognizing that the dream is a dream is a dream is a dream, and dreams hold no effect upon the dreamer when the dreamer awakens. Imagine living this life in perfect peace. Is it a difficult road? No. It requires, first and foremost, the willingness to completely embrace yourself as you are. Even as you perceive yourself to be, though you may be perceiving insanely. You are indeed doing so if you think there's anything amiss, but that's okay. First embrace the dream and love yourself. Love yourself for being right where you are, as you are. For there is simple law of metaphysics as you know this, and it is this. It is literally and always impossible to transcend and heal what is not fully embraced. And to embrace something means to love it to death. Therefore, when you go through your day, ask yourself this at the end of each day for the next 7 days. How many times in this one 24-hour period did I stop what I was doing and love myself wholly? Well, I would have gotten around to it more than once, but I was awfully busy. No. You were deluded, and there is a big difference. You were in insanity whenever you contracted away from love of self. So that's the first exercise we would offer you this evening. For the next 7 days, before you fall asleep at night, count how many times in that day you truly and wholly loved yourself. Now as we pause here then, what we are viewing from our level, our perspective, that has nothing at all to do with bodies, so you see, you can't really hide. There's no such thing as privacy. What we are seeing is many minds contracting with guilt at the recognition that more often than not this day they've actually loathed themselves. They found something to judge themselves for. Oh, I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I don't speak well enough, I don't have enough money, and on and on and on and on goes the list. Do you know that list? That list was made by a completely insane mind, and in reality, the list does not exist. So remember then to pay attention if you notice yourself being in judgment of yourself. That is the opposite of love. So look upon the contraction in the mind that goes, oh my God, I don't think about that once today, loving myself. Love yourself right there and then, now. And you've loved yourself, and then you can go to sleep peacefully. Does that make sense to you? I've said many times the way is easy and without effort, for what comes of effort is of your world and not of the kingdom. I've said to you the world is diametrically opposed to the truth of the kingdom. The world is just the exact opposite of all that the kingdom is. And if you're tightening the cells of the body and tightening the mind, fueled by fear and trying to make things happen, and they're not happening, that's a clear sign that somewhere you've forgotten the rest and the graciousness of self-love. Self-love opens a door to the spaciousness whereby you remember that you are one with all minds everywhere. There is no lack, and those beings who are perfect for you or at your stage of the journey will be sent to you, if you will but welcome them before they arrive. Interesting thought, isn't it? Your world will teach you. What's the point of welcoming someone until they've rung the doorbell? Why not welcome them before they ever see them with your physical eyes? Can you imagine what would happen if you awakened in the morning, took 5 minutes to forgive the world and bless the world and love yourself, and then welcomed everyone who was going to come into your experience? That day as an angel bringing you the opportunity to bless the world with forgiveness. You see, your peace would walk ahead of you. It would enter a room before your body even gets there. And before anything is said and done, you will have already created a space large enough to hold whatever comes in your experience. You will have embraced what must be embraced, and thereby the pathway to transcendence is set before you. Now, is all of this getting too complicated? Remember this. When the mind seems stymied but what is said, there are actually two things going on. First of all, the attempt is to stop the mind. Only when the mind is stopped can space come to it. If you feel blocked in trying to grasp what is being shared at all, remember that that sense of being blocked is nothing more than an old insane pattern. It is the culprit. If you notice that you're blocked, not quite putting the pieces together, simply stop and stop striving to do so. For the soul hears the truth. And when we come in this manner, or in many different manners to speak with you, we come not to speak to your earthly mind. We come not to speak to the body and your emotional field. We come to speak directly to the essence of your soul, which already knows the truth, which is the truth, and is in fact the very source from which these words are coming. By way of levity, if that is permitted, I'm never quite sure when I look at your world whether it is or whether it isn't. How many times each day do you vacillate? You know the pattern of laughing at the foibles of others but taking your own very seriously? You see, all that I do in this work with this beloved brother is this. I abide in a place and in a dimension where nothing is hidden, where all minds reside right where I am. And when anyone asks a question or even thinks a thought and doesn't speak it through the body, I merely am like one in what you'd call your racetracks. Imagine me with a little green visor on the head, and one comes and says, well, I wonder if I should bet on this one or that one. What is the truth or that truth? I go, well, just a minute. And I close down the window with the little bars on it, and I race out the back door. I run behind, and I sneak up behind you, and I examine your heart from behind. And I see what is written there, and I go, oh, yes, okay. And then I race back and come back, open a window, and I give you the answer. Now, many of you, it's rather an easy process because, you see, I keep records, and many of you ask the same things over and over. But rest assured and understand this well. When once said, of myself I do nothing, I meant it. My Father does these things through me. That requires the willingness to learn how to be empty of self with every breath. So those that would see me as someone filled with all this great cosmic wisdom, please see me differently. I am empty and spacious, resting in quiet adoration and devotion of all that my Father is, witnessing nothing but miracles, and that which extends and radiates the love of God through all creation. And if in your mind you see it not, it only means that you have not yet been willing to train the mind to teach only love, to give up all your own ideas, moment to moment, breath to breath. I am nothing special. I am merely your equal, your brother and your friend, created in the very same moment you were, with all the same attributes, all the same potential, all the same reality. And I marvel, just as you, when I truly ponder this, I marvel because throughout the expanse of my existence, which has been since before the beginning of time, just as yours, I have never been able to fathom the moment of my creation. Think about that one. Do you know the moment where you began? No, and you'll never find it. And that means there is indeed an unfathomable mystery that I have called Abba, that is present at the place within me, that is deeper than can ever be known, no matter how much the mind becomes enlightened. Knowing that, there can only be humility, devotion, appreciation, love. There can only be the fulfillment of the truly only meaningful relationship that you can ever have. Relationship with your Creator. For all of the rest of your relationships are merely reflections of you abiding with an aspect of yourself. And the only way that that relationship can reflect holiness is from the spillover from your devotion and the purity of your relationship with your Creator. Does that make sense to you? Creation is grand. How could you ever comprehend it all? You cannot. You can only allow it through your beingness without fear. For fear is a contraction, which is the opposite of love. And when you know fear, you are the world and not in the kingdom. And so, beloved friends, I've revealed to you something about the nature of my own being. I am not a great master, as many would have me be, wanting to project unto me all manner of skills and abilities and powers because they are afraid of embracing these things themselves. And projection, what you have tried to regurgitate out of your soul and get rid of, is what makes your perception. So if those that would come into the temple to worship me as the Savior of the world would only stop and understand the truth that projection makes perception, they would see that they are literally creating the Savior they believe must be there out of the denial of who they are. That is why I've often said to those of you who would choose to build an altar, to have a room of prayer, whatever you call it, why do you have all those pictures of saints and masters from all over the world? Where is your picture? Rest assured, try that for 1 hour. Get a picture of yourself and treat it like you would. Pay homage to it like you would a picture of your favorite master. Place it upon your altar, light your candles and your incense, sprinkle it with holy water, whatever you want to do, whatever your rituals are, and then do nothing but relax and contemplate your own image. And ask yourself this one question: from where has that being come? Can you see how that would be very opposite of what the world teaches you to do? I'm not speaking here of the danger, and there is a danger, of slipping into egoic identification of yourself as being so great and regal and special and everyone else a peon. That's not what we're talking about. But to move through the temptation to let the ego grasp the insight that you are as God created you to be. For while you abide in space and time, vigilance and discipline are absolutely required, and the more you awaken, the more you will need them. In my day and age, we spoke often of the temptation of Satan. The story that many of you know of my 40 days and nights in the desert, in which Satan himself came to tempt me, is a symbol, of course, that shows that the more power and light shines through you, the ego, the egoic energy that pervades your creation at this dimension, to a lesser degree other dimensions or planes, will always try to find a home in your mind. Always. Therefore, the more your light shines, the more what is called these little specks of darkness want to rush in and clog up your drain. Never become lazy. Never become satisfied. Keep wanting more and more of God. Selfishly demand it, and learn to be vigilant over what thoughts you are allowing into your mind. And be very careful. For as you awaken and suddenly you have a vicious and evil thought, the temptation is, Oh my God, I've blown it. That is a judgment, and that is the opposite of love. And only love can heal. You simply notice a thought and go, yes, I've had those before. Self-love. Love alone heals the mind. No other technology will work. Forgiveness, self-love, the recognition that no one comes into your sphere by accident, and that in reality each is an aspect of your own being, bringing treasures of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, coming to see if you will receive those treasures and thereby recognize that each day is the birth of Christ within you accomplished. Each time you accept those gifts, and the way you register your acceptance of the gifts that do indeed come in some rather interesting packages, the way you recognize it or pay recognition to it through your willingness to return to your reality, your purpose and function, and to bless that being, that gift bringer, with the forgiveness of Christ. And that forgiveness is not from a mind that thinks it is above the others, but recognizes not just the commonality, but the self-same identity. Do you see the difference? It is very important. Well, I forgive you, you poor, simple creature. No. I forgive you and bless you because you are who I am. And in reality, there is only one of us present, and together we have the power to bring heaven to earth through our holiness now. Somebody's got to extend it to the other aspect of themselves. Why not you? What are you waiting for? If only my mother would forgive me. If only my father would forgive me. And oh gosh, that first wife I had, and then the fourth husband. Oh my goodness. If I could just get things straight with them, then I would get on being Christ. So, the pause that was just created seemed to be in the midst of a thought or a direction. And your second exercise is this. Abide at peace and become your own conduit for completing the direction or momentum of the thought that was given just before the pause. Does that make sense to you at all? If you will give yourself to the exercise, not just once but often, and in a relaxed mode, you will find that the process takes you deeper and deeper levels. And those of you that sincerely engage in that process will embark on a series of what you call insights or revelation. And it will assist you in refining the deep energies of your own mind. So would you be willing to do that? We shall see. Remember, there is no privacy. And so it will be appropriate to spend a short time, and there will be questions asked by those who are seemingly seated here with bodies. Therefore, in conclusion of that which has been shared with you this hour, remember, forgiveness, self-love, accepting the perfection of each moment in which you discover yourself, for because you have already asked for healing and awakening, the Holy Spirit always goes before you, setting straight your path. Remember, if you knew how to set your path straight, you would have been done a long time ago. So accept the fact that what is occurring is part of a pathway being set before you by an intelligence or wisdom that knows far better than your thinking mind how to find the way home. And the more you surrender to each moment's perfection, the more you discover that the eye of the needle is always before you, and it's actually the royal highway that carries you to peace. And so with that, if you would prepare the technology with the buttons and all that, we can continue. Jeshua, as we enter this very profound time of year, is there anything that you would recommend that we hold in our hearts? A request for winning lottery numbers would be nice. Beloved friends, you asked a question that must be filled with levity, so therefore I answered the question with levity. For listen well to the words as we enter this profound time of year. What makes it any more profound than any other time of the year? There's nothing special about your month of December. There are symbols written in the stars that indicate a process of consciousness that's going on in you all the time. Therefore, rather than ask what we should hold onto our hearts now as we enter this profound time of year, ask what you can hold in your mind to create the profundity in every moment of your experience, until there's no difference between any day of the year, so that every day is the Mass of Christ. Gotcha. Always, but it makes a lot of room for other people to ask their questions. A profound sacrifice you have made. Thank you. I love being your bullseye. So does that answer help with your question? Yes, it does, of course. Thank you. You see, the tendency of the mind that has become enamored with the thinking of the world will carry the egoic pattern of wanting to shift its frequency by making something more special than something else, even a time frame. And that attempt to create specialness is an attempt to create inequality. And inequality, as you obviously know, is the opposite of equality. If you seek unity, give up the need for specialness. Therefore, this Christmas season, ask not what you can do to bring a profound experience this time, but reflect on what you must be doing in your consciousness the rest of the year to not experience the profound mystery of life. That's a very good question. I wonder where it came from. The one of us? Yes, indeed. So the one of us on this side of the horse race window asked the question, and the one of us on the other side with the green visor. I never did like the crown of thorns. I changed it for a green visor. Simply raced about and plucked the answer out of the heart that we all share and has given it to ourselves. There are two forms of busyness. One is based in fear, the other is based in love. Which energy is fueling your busyness? For the one generates the extension of the kingdom, and the other denies it. I believe we have done well with that one. So any more questions? In regard to the land we call Shanti Cristo, there are many friends coming to this area to participate, and many of us have in our hearts the desire to live more closely to each other, in sharing our growth processes, our loving each other, our understanding of your teaching, and so on. There seem to be many unanswered questions and desires of people who want to come together more closely quickly, and I wondered if you would address this. Beloved friend, unanswered questions are always a form of doubt. Unanswered questions reflect the quality of mind birthed not in God but in the world. The attempt to hope that someone else will create the energies necessary in the third dimension to allow you, not necessarily you, but the general you, to get what it thinks it needs, closer proximity to other bodies in space, yet being in denial of stepping into the role of what you might call leadership to bring that about. Therefore understand well, there are many that are being called, and some seem to have answered that call a little sooner than others. The call to Shanti Cristo is the call to awaken first from every obstacle to the presence of power and love and light within their being, to no longer tolerate anything in your consciousness that creates the barrier to the manifestation of the vision that seems to be calling you, and the willingness to take complete responsibility for being the one that manifests it. For you see, that vibration is a very refined vibration. There is no room for gamemanship. There is no room for riding on the energies of others. There is no room for denying the power of Christ within yourself. This level of purity is absolutely necessary to bring forth in the field of time, patiently, with quality, the vibrational field into which even more can be called, who will experience what you call spontaneous healing of mind, emotion, and body. For if you would view that which is a communion of a coming together of souls in the third dimension, and some are relying on others to carry the frequency, you have inequality, you have conflict, you have dissonance. Dissonance weakens the field of energy, and the note that would come through the instrument does not carry the power you would wish to behold. That, then, creates resentment in the minds of those who are wanting others to really take responsibility, and resentment simply creates infighting and death. Therefore, mark these words well. Shanti Cristo is the responsibility of everyone who generally feels called to its manifestation, pure and simple, for it is a grand experiment to bring forth the unified field, which is the Christ mind. Does that make sense to you? Yes, it does. Therefore, where there is impatience or unanswered questions, help those with that type of energy to remember that they are already looking outside of themselves. They need to come back to right where they are in the moment and allow the process of purification of their own consciousness through forgiveness, through accepting that great power you hold to take care of anything you think looks like a problem around you, or a limitation or a lack, and to handle that first. That is, to seek the kingdom first, from which all things can be added. That was a rather good question, and again we must ponder its source. Jeshua, I'm reminded of our conversation about co-creating Christ a few months ago, and I wonder if you would extend that conversation somewhat tonight. Yes, get on with it. Think I could make it any clearer? No. All you need is given right here, right now. All power under heaven and earth resides within the depth of your consciousness, which is that which literally is creating what you see around you and what you feel within yourself. Therefore, claim that power, own it, take it into your being, and never, never again allow yourself to deny that you are the one creation of God. And unto you nothing is impossible. Does that help clarify? Yes, you're wonderful. I am only yourself. So, James, you have a question? Yes, I have a question. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll ask. This one used to always want to take me aside and ask privately. Okay, I'm wanting to ask about this 12:12 stuff. So I've already listened to all these other questions, you see, and then I decide what's the point of asking any questions. The answer is already given. So what's the answer? So I'm still curious that there's nothing special. I understand yet, and yet the mind in me goes, there is this dimension that we operate on, and many other dimensions, and energy coming forth in waves. From where? From within us. And so then, what is this 12:12? Speak from the truth that is within the depth of your being. The desire for freedom to be made manifest upon this planet, that's coming forth, pouring forth from a lot of our hearts. From the one heart indeed, beloved brother, beloved friend, will have you spoken, for in truth, that which is being called 12:12 symbolizes an expression of the desire of the one mind to awaken from its dream. And have we not said that there are 4 keys to the kingdom? And is not the first desire? Therefore, you see, you did get it, right from the very core of the deepest truth. It is an expression of the desire of the mind of Christ to give up the dream of the dreamer. So you see, you knew after all. Beloved friend, there is only a small trace left of the deep pattern or tendency you've been dissolving through many lifetimes, the pattern and tendency not to trust yourself. And that, then, causes the mind to project unto others a better connection with God than your own. Always have I loved you, and always shall I. And the day comes quickly when you will look through the eyes of your heart upon me, and no longer see me as above you. You will see in me the shining radiance of your perfect equality with me, and then indeed the dance can begin. Yea, yet another timely question, so how are you all doing? These what you call gatherings of the family will now commence and will grow, and remember, with patience, without doubt, trusting and allowing the perfect unfoldment. And if you think it's not unfolding perfectly, don't look outside yourself. Go back to the question. Did I love myself today? How many times did I express forgiveness to the world? Am I, pardon the vernacular, cleaning up my own act? Because remember, this world is nothing more than a grand act. So with that, we can bring this time to a close. For what was needed to be shared has been shared, and the questions asked are the questions also. Not necessarily the same words, but the same essence. They are carried in many of your brothers and sisters, and therefore accept my blessing as my equal. Please take the cloak from my shoulder and the crown from my head and adorn yourself, and then go and do likewise for your brother and your sister. Be you therefore at peace in this moment and always. Be you therefore the light that lights this world in simplicity and grace and a gentle smile. Be you therefore awakened in this moment to the truth of your own reality. Be you therefore of good courage, for I have overcome the world, and in that moment so did you. If it is completed in me, it must be completed in you, because there is only one of us here. Can you then accept that you already faced crucifixion? You don't have to repeat the process. Can you accept that the ascension is already done? Will you be the embodiment of the truth that sets all things free? Can there be any other use of time? Blessings then be upon the one who shines brightly forever in the mind of God, who has created us we know not when or how, and that truth is inescapable. My love to each and every one of you, for in you I see the reflection of myself, and know the grandeur and radiance and beauty and love that my Father is, and I praise my Father without ceasing. Amen. So ends the blessing of forgiveness.